Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old-school RuneScape video. Our beloved 2007 version of a 2001 point-and-click medieval browser fantasy game for children is about to change forever. With updates such as Forestry and Desert Treasure 2 fast approaching, I thought it would be fitting to talk about how these two additions will shape the future of the game, and what they are going to bring to the table. If you haven't been keeping up with updates recently, this video will be just what you need to catch up so you can give us your opinion. So, to give you some background before we start, both of these updates were announced during the 2022 Winter Summit, where Jagex tells us all about updates coming in the first half of the following year. Forestry will be a new way to train woodcutting, and it's going to give players more incentive to train together. And it's also going to bring new items which will greatly benefit your account. The most exciting update so far will be the release of Desert Treasure 2. This quest will open the way to a more powerful, brand new prayer book, 4 repeatable bosses to farm for Virtus robes, new best and slot rings, and of course more areas to explore. The controversial part of this update is the prayer book, as there are a few issues that come to mind when trying to balance it in order to give you a sense of choice between the two, which is what we will talk about in today's video. If you fellas enjoyed this upload, consider subscribing with notifications on, as I will be covering both of these updates as soon as they hit the live game. We are going to start with Forestry, and I'm talking about this now because thankfully everything passed the polls. This is an extremely interesting update because it's unlike anything we have ever seen before. What I mean by that is that a skill can stay useless forever, fire making, or it can get a full rework like mining and smithing in RuneScape 3. In the middle, we have adding a new skilling method that will completely revolutionize the skill, how people train it, and how the rewards that come from said activity will help the skill as a whole. Picture Guardians of the Rift and the Giant's Foundry. Well, Forestry is none of those, and this activity will forever change how people train this skill without it being a full rework or by adding a brand new minigame activity to make it go by a lot quicker. The very first thing you need to know about Forestry is that it will be a 2-part update. The first batch of changes will arrive on June 2023, and the second one can be expected during August. This will be a brand new way to interact with a skill, which will make it more social, and rewards from it will be useful in many places of the game. If you didn't know, when you train woodcutting in the current day, there's a 1 in 8 chance that the tree depletes and you'll have to wait for it to respawn. Of course, if the tree can provide multiple logs. This inherently means that you want to train woodcutting alone, because the more people on a tree, the more chances it will have to disappear, so you will get less experience per hour. With the current changes, not only is this system completely disappearing, making the tree despawn after a set amount of time, but players will actually receive an invisible level boost if chopping the same tree up to 10 people. This obviously means that you might want to train woodcutting with multiple people for slightly more experience per hour. For your forestry adventure, we have a few items. A forestry kit will be a wearable item for your cape slot capable of holding all items relevant to this new update. A clothes pouch that will allow you to store a lumberjack outfit and to keep the bonuses while you wear something else. And then 3 new consumable items, all with cool effects. The Forester's Ration will restore run energy after chopping a tree, the Secateurs Attachment will help you gather more leaves, and the Nature Offering will allow you to get extra resources when cutting trees. If you noticed, I talk about leaves. This will be a key component in a lot of the future activities we will have for forestry and how players train woodcutting moving forward. When chopping different types of trees, you will be able to obtain said items, all of which will help you with 2 new concepts, being campfires and tea brewing. You will be able to make campfires to give nearby players a skilling boost depending on the type of leaf you use on it. Tea brewing is basically the same thing, but the benefits will be more personal, as said boost will work on you and mostly will have to do with skilling. As Jagex said that they don't really want this to work for combat. Another idea Jagex is proposing and will expand in the future is the addition of forestry events. You remember that evil tree random event that broke your axe back when we were kids? Well, something similar, but these new events will instead be helpful, giving you the chance to obtain more forestry related materials if successfully completed. We will know more about this in future updates. Last and definitely not least, we have some big rewards that will make woodcutting faster and hopefully more enjoyable. Up first, we have the log basket, which will simply allow you to store more logs to make the trips longer. Picture the coal bag, the fish barrel, or the plank sack like we have for mining, fishing, and construction. We're also going to see the introduction of 2-handed woodcutting axes, and this will naturally give you more experience per hour because you will be able to chop trees faster due to their new power. Another reward will be a bee box and will allow you to keep bees in your POH. How these will play into forestry is yet to be seen, but hey, an interesting addition nevertheless. Lastly, we have some cosmetics for the lumberjack outfit, a funky log which will allow you to recolor your beaver pet if you have one, and a sturdy harness which will allow you to wear the log basket and save more inventory space. Remember, everything we have talked about so far has already passed the polls, and we may see slight adjustments to any component of this update up until release. So, if you're training woodcutting now, I would personally wait for this brand new way to train the skill with friends to make it slightly more bearable. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time to talk about the big boy update, Desert Treasure 2 and its rewards. I will leave the prayers for last because they are definitely the hottest topic of discussion surrounding Old School RuneScape's newest Grand Master quest. To give you a small refresher, the continuation of one of the game's most iconic quests will come in summer of 2023. What that means is uncertain, but the Tombs of a Mascot was released in summer of 2022, which happened to be on the 24th of August. So, we can hopefully see it somewhere around that time. In this new quest, you will explore 4 new areas, fight 4 powerful bosses, and of course unlock rewards worthy of one of the toughest challenges you will ever have to face. First, each of the new bosses will drop an untradeable gem to attach to the Ancient Scepter to give it bonuses according to what spell you are using. They will provide buffs to their respective spell, giving the spellbook even more power. Jagex was also planning to explore freeze and poison penetration as brand new stats to aid in bossing, but sadly these two didn't pass and won't be seeing them for the foreseeable future. Say goodbye to the Berserker, Archer, and Seer's Ring. With this update we will finally get new best-in-slot rings for the respective style, and they will be even more powerful than the Dagonoth King's rings courtesy of the Nightmare Zone buffs. The best part about this is that from what we know so far, the rings will drop as the new best-in-slot item and we don't even need to upgrade them or even fix them, so finally a healthy power creep coming into the game for the ring slots. Lastly, before the Ruinous Powers, we have the Virtus Robes. These were originally going to be dropped by Nex, but thanks to people complaining enough about it, we got the Torva armor instead. The Virtus Robes were also originally dropped from Nex back in RuneScape 2, but this time around, these robes will come to the game with, you guessed it, a niche use. According to a poll related to this update, Virtus robes will come into the game but will be more powerful than Ancestral, only when using ancient magic spells. How the full set will stand against Ancestral is yet to be seen, but because of the niche use, I'm sure it's not going to be the new best-in-slot magic armor in the game. I've seen a lot of people say that Virtus robes shouldn't be more powerful than Ancestral, because the latter is obtained from a raid rather than a boss you can camp for multiple kills per hour. While I agree with that, Ancestral has been in the game since 2017 and has been the best magic armor ever since. My only piece of advice, which I'm pretty sure is not going to happen, would be to make the Virtus robes stronger than Ancestral, but use the same mechanic we have had for Torva and Masori, which means that you need the previous best-in-slot armor to be broken into components in order to upgrade the new one. Something like, for example, using a needle on Ancestral robes to obtain, let's say, Ancestral thread, and then using them on Virtus robes to improve them. Maybe a little too lazy, but hey, one can dream. Regardless, I'm happy to see more powerful items come into the game that will pair up with content relevant to them. And now, Scapers, time for the most important topic surrounding the release of Desert Treasure 2, the new prayer book, Ruinous Powers. I will quickly go over each prayer or group of prayers, giving you a quick breakdown of how they work, and I will give you my overall opinion at the end. This new prayer book is being divided into 5 groups, and we don't know what levels we will need in order to use them quite yet. As a very general rule of thumb, the more powerful, the higher the level you will need. The first section is Protection Prayers, and for this one we have 2 sets of 2. The first being an initial proposal, and the second being a revised proposal after community consultation. Dampen Melee, ranged and magic, will reduce the damage by 90% rounded down, while Absorb Melee, ranged and magic will fully protect you from the respective style, but the drawback is that it will drain prayer points by 10% of the mitigated damage. So, you have a choice between full protection at the cost of more prayer, or slightly less protection with a chance of being damaged. The second group starts with Withstand Melee, Ranged, and Magic. These will also fully protect you, but will reduce defense by 33%, meaning you will be more vulnerable against the style you're not protecting against. The other one is Deflect Melee, Ranged, and Magic, and with it you will also be 90% protected. However, 10% of the pre-mitigation damage will be dealt back to the attacker, meaning that if you protect against an attack that would have hit a 50 for example, you will be dealt 5 damage, but you're also going to deal 5 damage back to your opponent. I personally voted for this one as it feels more rewarding, so you let me know what you think. The second section is about offensive prayers like we have now in the form of Piety, Rigor, and Augury. To make things shorter, I will only focus on the more powerful ones, just to see how they pair up against the current best buffs. The first and definitely most interesting one we have is called Trinitas. This will increase your attack, strength, ranged attack, range strength, and magic attack by a whopping 15%. Definitely useful for situations where you need more power for all combat styles, but the drawback is that none of these will boost the defense, giving them a sense of risk versus reward that Jagex is looking for. Decimate will come to replace Piety, and this will increase your attack by 20% and strength by 30%, while Piety increases attack by that same 20% and strength by only 23%. So that 7% difference will definitely be felt in a few extra max hits. Annihilate will come to replace Rigor, and this is going to increase the ranged attack by 20% as well as range strength by 30%. Rigor offers the same stats as the Piety but for the range style, and just like before, we are looking at a nice 7% damage increase. The most interesting change is Vaporize, which will come to replace Augury, and the later one increases magical attack and defense by 25%. While the new Prayer will offer the same 25% as well as an additional 4% magic damage, which is actually pretty big. All of these are looking great so far, but my only complaint is that 7% damage increase feels a little too low for completing arguably the most difficult quest that this game will ever see. But people on my stream told me that anything higher than that might be broken, so hey, I'll just have to cope and accept that nice and juicy 30%, and we'll see what the new maxed hits actually are. We also have some offensive overhead prayers starting with Gambit, which will simply provide 8% more accuracy to all styles when used, and you can even pair this up with the previously mentioned offensive prayers for even more power. Because of it, you are not going to be able to use protection prayers, giving it that sense of risk versus reward. Rebuke will increase your damage taken by 15% and will reflect 15% of the damage dealt to you. Picture this like a more powerful ring of recoil to deal damage back to your opponents the more they damage you. Last but not least on this category, we have Vindication. And when reduced below 10% of your maximum HP, you will heal for 15% of your prayer level while losing any remaining prayer points. For the next 6 seconds, your next attack will deal 10% bonus damage, and you can see this as a stronger redemption prayer. A brand new section is called Ancient Vows, and these will imbue you with the power of the ancient elements. These haven't made it past the polls, and we'll see what happens with them on March 15th. Corror's Vow will give you a 10% chance to heal 10% of the damage you deal with any combat style. This will basically be lifesteal, and it's the closest we will ever get to Soul Split from RuneScape 2. And a new way to steal life outside of the Sanguinesti Staff and the Amulet of Fury. Glacy's Vow will give you a 20% chance to deal bonus magic damage equal to 10% of your initial hit. So, simply a small buff to magic for you to hit bigger numbers. Umbra's Vow will drain your opponent's defense by 10% of the damage dealt, capped at 15% of the initial value to avoid making it absolutely broken. Otherwise, you might be able to bring an opponent's defense all the way down to 0%. Lastly, Fomus's Vow will consume 10% of your poison severity and deal the same amount as bonus damage. So, this new prayer will make it important for you to attack while being poisoned, and avoid healing it if using this new buff. Last and definitely not least, we have some nice utility prayers. And I'm going to quickly go over them because they're simpler than the rest. Ruinous Grace will drain prayer instead of run energy while active, meaning you will pretty much have 2 stamina bars when running a lot. Ruinous Smite will drain your opponent's prayer points by 33% of the damage you deal, as opposed to the current Smite, which drains 25%. Wrath is a new retribution and will deal damage equal to 25% of your prayer level in a 5x5 area around your character. Rejuvenation will regenerate 1 HP every 20 seconds, which is a new rapid heal which regenerates 1 HP every 30 seconds. Metabolize reduces action delay by 1 tick after eating, and this one seems pretty niche for some actions, so we'll have to wait and see how it's used to improve certain activities. And last for today we have Berserk, which simply makes your combat boost last for 50% longer. This is going to replace Preserve, which works for all boosts, so the new version has higher focus on combat. I honestly think the new prayer book is headed the right direction, and while I would personally like to see even more power packed into it, I understand it might be a little bit too much. It's a little frustrating seeing how Jagex seems to be in this never-ending nightmare of having to balance everything in order to give us a sense of choice, for example, rather than an objective upgrade like the ancient curses are to the normal prayer book in RuneScape 2. Regardless, I'm super excited to see all of these new rewards added to the game, and of course I can't wait to the release of Desert Treasure 2, so make sure to subscribe in order to see that covered as soon as it drops. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching and for making it this far. If you did, make sure to let me know what you think of everything we've talked about so far in the comments below. Do you enjoy forestry? Do you like the new prayers, the new robes, everything from Desert Treasure 2? Please go ahead and make your voice heard. I want to give a massive thank you to all my members who have decided to support this channel monetarily. Your support means the world to me, and I appreciate every single one of you a whole ton. If you want to join this list of legends, click the join button below to see all of the cool perks and rewards you can get in the videos, in the live streams, and of course for instant access to the Discord. Stay tuned for the next video where I will show you how to reach level 99 cooking in the fastest, the most efficient, or the most profitable way possible. Have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace!